Hey guys, it's Matt, Fantasy Salesman, here from Fantasy Analyzers. We're here to kind of discuss the news with Mixon, as well as Kamara, and some of the mailbag questions that we've got. So stay tuned, 30 seconds. Let's do this. Hey guys, once again, this is Matt from Fantasy Analyzers. My handle's Fantasy Salesman. We have Travis, Laptop Lombardi, to my right. And then we have David Massey out of Delaware, and he's here to discuss some football as well. Off the bat, we have some news. This is going to be pretty quick, 5-10 minutes, if not less. So first off the bat, we got Mixon signing a new deal. 4 years, $48 million. Let's go. If you like Mixon, I do. Let's get into it. What are your thoughts, David, on this?
So I had Mixon as a fade. So up to this point, I love Mixon as a player coming out of school. I love him as a player. I think the world of him. I was really high on him when he was drafted, and I was high on him last year. But what scared me was the contract situation, and I was burned by Le'Veon Bell in 2018. So he's off my fade list. He's back in the mix at the back half of round one. So I'd be thrilled to draft Mixon at this point.
Yeah, Travis, what are your thoughts? Mixon, new deal.
I think it's awesome that he finally got the deal. They definitely needed to shore up that running back spot. I believe they paid.
Hey, you guys hear me?
At the beginning of last season. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
So they definitely have their RB1 now, and they have a good depth piece behind him in Bernard.
Yeah.
So I like the signing because Gordon knows that he needs some help.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So kind of going off of
really
that.
Believe that they can. Go ahead.
Yeah, perfect. Good stuff, man. So going off of that, we see a new contract, and the first thing I react to is long term. This is 4 years, so this may hurt us as far as fantasy coming into this next season. What are your thoughts, sack experts? Dave, you good?
Yeah. So you're talking about the long term with Mixon.
Yeah. So because we're planning 5 years down the road, we got Joe Burrow coming in. What's up?
I think the sky's the limit for that Cincinnati Bengals team. I know they've been a down and out franchise for a long time, but I finally feel like the arrow's pointing up for them. You got hopefully your franchise quarterback in Burrow. I like Mixon as a running back. Exactly. Their offensive lines come together. The receiving corps come together. I'm not a Bengals fan at all. Won't pretend to be, but I feel good about where they're headed. And I feel good about their offense for for fantasy this year. I feel good. I like Tyler Boyd. I think he's going to be a PPR monster. I think he gets the volume. I like Mixon. I just said, I have him ranked in the back half of the first round. I'd be perfectly comfortable taking him there. Ross is a little bit of a late sleeper. John Ross, that super 4.2 speed. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm in on the Bengals this year.
Yeah, me too. Definitely going back to Leonard Fournette. I busted that news, I guess, and discussed a little bit where I come from with Leonard Fournette. What I see now is a lot of people kind of deciding between Armstead and some of the other backs in that backfield. Where do you guys kind of stand as far as who do you want in that backfield now that Leonard Fournette is on the move? And he was recently announced as a free agent. He's cleared waivers, so any team could pick him up any minute, and that's what I'm excited to see. So what are your thoughts on kind of this backfield in Jacksonville? Travis, if you could take it.
Yeah. So I think Armstead's a good option. I read a small, quote out of Jacksonville today that said something about Armstead.
All right, looks like we're having some connection issues. Dave, you want to take that?
Be the RB.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Travis. Go ahead, David.
Yeah. So with Yeah, so I was fading for Fournette before all this happened. I was still fading Leonard Fournette. I wasn't touching him this year at his ADP. I mean, even in
You're a
most people
fade
were taking him in
dude.
the third.
Mixon and
Yeah,
Fournette. Come on now.
well, we don't have the time to. We'll do this another day. I'll tell you where I got this mindset from, but it's not my own. I told you about where I learned my mentor last year, so I'll come
Yeah.
back to that. But that's where I've learned this idea of fading these high profile players, and sometimes very productive players. But he taught me to look at the overall picture, and just the coaches didn't want him there. They were trying to trade him last year. I mean, I'm having trouble spending a third round pick where the coaches don't even want him on the team. Now I know there's more to it. I know he's been productive last year. They didn't want him, but what my mentor taught me last year, like in the early rounds, more so than hitting on your players per se, you're trying to avoid the landmine. So that's kind of where the thought process comes through to fade. But to go further into the question, I mean, he was a fade to begin with for me. So I was already targeting Armstead. I did a couple dynasty startups, so I drafted Armstead, 11th, 12th round, something like that. So I've been in on those backups already. I like where Ozigbo is. I think he's got a little bit better. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Armstead that has the better speed. So Ozigbo, I was starting to come around on Ozigbo, but it looks like he's just not a. He's got like 4.7 speed. Doesn't look like he's got great pass catching skills. So it's a tough read, but I would say Ozigbo right now is the cheapest of them. Thompson has the PPR upside, I think, assuming health.
Get some upside, kind of ceiling value out of that.
Yeah, and Armstead. Yeah, and Armstead, I like him, and I think there could be value there, but at this point right now, he's a little bit costly. I mean, he's going to cost you an ninth round pick. So if you want to go for Armstead, that's what he's going to cost you.
Yeah, of course. So I personally, honestly, haven't put too much research into this, but like you said, Armstead is kind of where I'm leaning if I was going to try to go for that value. Redrafts are still going on. I have 2 drafts coming up this week and 1 next week. So I'm paying attention to kind of these backfields changing, Mixon, securing long-term dynasty. It kind of changes the perspective on all of that. I have another question. So that original question was from T. Nizzlebach. He has a question about Armstead and kind of how to approach the situation. Give me one moment. I have another one from Kenneth. And he's asking that he has Kamara. And now Kamara is like in trade talks, and he was asking about holding out and all that. He has Lindsey, Hunt, and Howard to kind of get into that Kamara slot in case something happens where Kamara's kind of locked up. What are your thoughts, Travis?
So he's got Lindsey, Hunt, and Jordan Howard as is that his replacement?
It's essentially, it seems like his flex, kind of the guy that would take Kamara's spot.
Oh, I'd like to have that team where Kamara was my flex, but
No.
I mean, if I had 2 other running backs that were my 1 and 2, and I had AK as my flex, I'd love that. But in that case, I think those are pretty viable options, even though they're kind of all in an RPC. No one's really the clear-cut number 1 out of those options. But they very well could be with one injury. So Lindsey with Gordon in front of him. We got Hunt and Chubb in front of him. We got Howard and Breida kind of doing that split. So that's what we're kind of seeing with those situations. I would say PPR, Hunt would definitely be the best option for that. Because
I think we're on the same page.
For PPR. But if you're in a standard league, I don't know. That's a tough choice between Lindsey and Howard because they're going to get carries, but you worry about their catching. So it's a tough decision on that one.
So let's say half PPR. Who are you going with first week?
Half PPR.
Hunt, Howard.
I'd probably have to go Hunt. Sorry.
Hunt is going to get those catches. He's going to get yardage. He breaks tackles. He gets into open space, and he's nuts. So I definitely understand what you're saying on that. What do you think, David? Hunt, Howard, or Lindsey first week?
I think he's the most talented of those.
Travis.
Yeah, I'm leaning. Sorry, guys. I would lean towards Hunt as well, especially in a PPR league. I mean, on the draft board, from ADP alone, I have Hunt the highest rated of those players. So, just on that alone, you would expect him to have the highest output. But I also think, the catching and the receiving upside is what's would be help me to make the decision there. And I'm a Philly fan. I like Jordan Howard. I think he's a good football player, but the weeks where he was successful last year, if you go back for Philly, everybody's like saying like, Miles Sanders didn't take over till later in the year. Jordan Howard had a couple spiked weeks, but it was mostly touchdown dependent. I mean, it was very, very few catches out there. So he's going to get the first and second down work. In Miami, picking a Miami running back that's touchdown dependent for my fantasy team, that does not sound like a winning proposition to me.
Makes your stomach churn a little bit.
Yeah.
End zone,
Yeah. So,
Miami, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be better than last year, but not.
Yeah, definitely. So essentially what we ran through today, and I appreciate everyone that viewed in. Kamara news, maybe traded. I don't know. Mixon is 4-year deal, $48 million. That secures him in Dynasty for a while. We had a question from T. Mizzlebach with Armstead and kind of what that backfield in Jacksonville looks like, as well as Kenneth. He had the Kamara news, and he's kind of, what do I do if Kamara were to hold out, or maybe there's a couple weeks where he's not playing. So I definitely appreciate your guys' questions, and it was at Kenneth. Here it is, at Kenneth 013200547. So I appreciate you for tuning in. It's Fantasy Analyzers at Fantasy Analyze on Twitter, fantasyanalyzers.com, and we got let's do this. We got Laptop Lombardi next to me and David Massey out of Delaware. So thank you for tuning in. We'll be back again. Tune in, keep track. We're on Fantasy Analyzers. And here we go. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.